The Joe Rogan Experience.
Oh,
Maybe it looks like a movie.
What I sent Jamie yesterday, you want to get mad?
Yeah.
Let's get mad.
Let's get mad.
The LA Fire Fund, you know, they had this big show, big fundraiser. They raised $100 million.
contributed to that.
What, did it all go to BLM?
Wait till you find out where the money went. It's James Lee did a thing about it on Instagram. Yeah, and there's been articles written about it where people are like, where's the money? The way they distribute the money is so crazy. You're gonna read this and you're never gonna want to donate to charity again because you find out what charities are really, what a lot of these non-profits are really about. The lady running the charity that got the money makes almost $1 million a year.
BLM, Me Too.
Yep.
This.
A bunch.
Same lady?
It's all
No,
no.
but it's all. Everyone's like, well, let me get a
Same
taste.
fucking lady. She's killing it.
Listen to this.
I watched
Pages of
this.
hate. I looked into it a little bit. We'll watch it, but what they say though is that within the first month they distributed half of that money.
Hold on, before you press play on
I
this.
also don't trust this.
Hold on, that guy with the fishing
I don't
hat
trust
is
this
not a
guy.
reliable
so I
news
was just
source.
trying to
That's my number one source of news.
And then he's trying to blame the Annenberg Foundation. That is one of the richest fucking families in California. They're worth so much fucking money. And
I wonder how they got money.
I mean,
Fire aid is
But it
giving Fire
doesn't
Fest
matter. If
Shut up,
like,
liberal ass Jamie.
I'm
You
just
fucking
sort of-
Ohio
I'm
State
just-
fan, liberal
how
ass.
about just
fucking-
play the video? How about play the video and let everybody figure it out for themselves?
Let's platform this guy.
okay.
Yeah, play it, liberal.
Jesus.
Sponsor might be one of the biggest scams in disaster fundraising history. And as usual, I'm bringing the receipts. First off, according to reports, the Fire Aid benefit concerts raised over $100 million, supposedly for LA fire victims. Cool. But since then, residents have been asking, where did all the money go?
$100 million raised for residents, community things, and funds that are supposed to help with Palisades, and there's no accounting.
He played football.
Let's figure this out. So,
hammered.
according to the Fire Aid website, it says that all direct donations will be distributed under the advisement of the Annenberg Foundation. According to the IRS 990 form, the Annenberg Foundation is a 501c3 based in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania.
I live there.
In this
Conchi,
lovely
baby.
office building. One massive red flag
I know
right
that
away
building.
is that only 33% of their annual expenses goes towards actual charity programs. The rest goes to administrative costs like executive compensation. If you look at the numbers, they treat you pretty good over there, starting with top dog Cynthia Kennard, who's making $750,000 plus another 6 figures in bonuses.
She started
which is
the fire.
Basically, almost 7 figures just for one person there. Here is Cynthia, a.k.a. Cinny, hanging out with Gavin Newsom, discussing or strategizing about things like how to solve
Would.
Both of them.
6 beers.
Yeah.
Anyway, just to give you a point of comparison with another nonprofit, Doctors Without Borders, they spend almost 90% of their money on actual programs versus less than 1% on administrative costs. Local journalists have also been asking, where's the money? They found, quote, the Fire Aid website names only 3 Palisades organizations that receive grants, among almost 120 organizations listed as receiving.
Couple Jew ones
No,
in
no,
there.
keep it
You
going.
see who got the money?
Couple Jew ones in there. Hold on, let me read it.
Why'd you stop?
Because he's focused on the Palisades.
Just play it.
120
Just play it. We'll
organizations.
talk later.
Are specific to Pacific Palisades.
Went to Israel.
And those 3 are Kehelet Israel, Chabad of Pacific Palisades, and Palisades Charter High School.
Listen, scorpions
Others have tried
sting.
to directly reach out to the Annenberg Foundation. They were kind of given the runaround, various extension numbers. Somebody saying they would call them back. No one called back.
Well, it's
Also
customer
referring
service.
them to some mysterious man named Philip. No last name. He was never found.
Yes.
This is just crazy. So essentially what they're doing is taking the $100 million, then paying themselves roughly 70% of it.
Wow.
And then the rest of the money they're dishing out to various other nonprofits with their own administrative expenses. And that's how $100 million just ends up disappearing.
Ay, ay, ay.
Wow.
Benefit
Okay.
I don't believe it.
Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he's exaggerating. But at the very least,
This is what the
30%,
NFL does. The NFL does with the
30%,
cancer research stuff.
70% goes to administration. 30% goes to the actual cause.
These nonprofits,
That's crazy.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
they're for
Oh,
their
that's
own
crazy.
profit.
And
Well,
the
it's just a
insurance bailed on
loophole.
them, too.
It's a loophole.
But
they
they-
found a
but-
loophole to make a great living by being virtuous.
And then they see a fire and they're like, sick, we're all getting raises.
But all we're saying, Jamie, is that this guy is saying that 70% traditionally goes to administrative costs, 30% goes to the actual problem.
Right, that's for all
But
charities.
that is for all charities, for a lot of charities, but not Doctors Without Borders, which is one of the things that he brought up.
He just picked one though.
Right,
He's
but
comparing you with this stuff to. He's like, I'll pick a charity, and he picked probably one of the worst ones. We've gone over the charity stuff many times. There's
Right.
good and bad charities.
There's good and bad charities. But the point is that this $100 million you're saying was distributed to a bunch of different places, not just Pacific Palisades.
Looking into it, too, $100 million was a number that got used in advertising to make everything look big and look good. Probably, I was trying to say too. Assuming that it is $100 million, there's a bunch of companies and a bunch of like artists that said, "Oh, I'm going to pledge $1 million. I'm going to pledge $1 million."
They never.
And you have to go collect it all. You don't know if they all sent it in.
Oh, you know how many times I've pledged stuff?
I pledged $1 million to Notre Dame's NIL. I haven't done one single.
Did you do it by yourself?
Yeah.
Were you in your apartment?
No, I was at the fucking championship game watching Ohio State win, and I was going, Notre Dame needs a D tackle. I'm going to give them $1 million.
For real?
Yeah. And then they were like, "Hey, you want to give us that $1 million?" I was like, "No."
I pledged. Is that legally binding?
It was a pledge.